you know, hired that huge bodyguard to follow him around, and anytime somebody takes a swipe at him, that bodyguard does something. And it's like, yeah, not this time, Sonny. Messing with the 5-0 this time. Then he had, allegedly had, amphetamines on him and other drugs, and he was standing in the middle of the street and just, what are you doing? Stop. People, quit acting a fool. This just doesn't make any sense. I guess it can just, I guess it's no surprise they're young. I think in that Jack Doherty's case, I've seen a lot of his older stuff, on some other documentaries, I guess, about him, mockumentaries. And he came from well-off to do, he came off from decent family, and they encouraged him to do all this kind of stupid shit, Never really put a kibosh to it. And it's like, you can't tell me it was because of the money. That kid didn't have his own YouTube channel at 13 years old because he just did. His parents signed off on that. They had to look at it. They're the ones that made the account for him. They're the ones that never called him out. And I'm sure, when he started making money, he's like, they were probably like any other parent. If my kid made a YouTube channel and was making money, I'd be thrilled. I'd be like, cool, you can take care of me when I'm old and retired. But I'm just playing. But, no, of course you want your kids to do good. But, if they're doing that kind of stuff, it's like, I don't know. You gotta say something to them and be like, yo, what are you doing? Can't be doing that. So, I don't know. In my opinion, his parents have a lot to do with that whole thing. Never calling him out. Never saying nothing. And then by the time he's an adult, by the time he's 18... he's already a freaking millionaire and, made all this money. And then at that point, you can't do anything. What can you do at that point? Just tell you to shut up. Shut up, Mom. Shut up, Dad. I'm an adult. I can do what I want. There's that one time he, crashed that freaking Maserati or whatever he was driving. He was, answering a freaking live chat while he was driving, driving on a freaking ice, or not ice road, but in a rainstorm. Jesus Christ. It's just like, dude. All these people that are doing all this stupid shit. That guy that went up to that dude at the mall and stuck his phone in his face and ended up getting shot. What are you doing? What are you doing? Jeez. Is that what social media has done to all of us? Why am I doing this? I should just be outside spray painting this shit on the sides of churches, right? That'd get me a lot more views. And I'd still be doing my art. What am I doing? I'm out of here. It doesn't make sense to me that people are like this at this point. That one guy, there was that other guy who was just on the news. This is like an epidemic. That dude was on the news. He was spraying Raid all over vegetables and stuff at a freaking Walmart on groceries and stuff. And before that, he would go into the back of fast food places and take a bucket of ice and dump it in the fryer. Bro, I've worked in restaurants for pretty much half of my working life. That's the last thing you do. When you throw ice into a fryer, it just explodes or just bubbles over uncontrollably. This huge mess that everybody else is going to have to clean up. And half the time he goes back there, it's some old man working, some old, and it's usually, he's in the city, so there's a lot of, older minorities working. So he's going back there, and he's a black dude, and he's going back there and making an enormous mess for his own financial gain, so that the 65-year-old Mexican dude in the back who just wants to make a few bucks and get out of there has to stay an extra 7 hours to clean up this freaking mess. And if you guys have never worked in a restaurant, then you don't even know. When a fryer bubbles over like that, ugh. It's just, what an asshole. I hope he goes to jail. Those people need to go to jail, dude. That's ridiculous. And just making people's lives miserable. Unbelievable. So yeah, all these nuisance streamers, man, peace out. Get the hell out of here. Do something real like that one guy I'm watching does. That's half the reason I'm doing this channel, is that guy John Hicks I'm watching, the dude in California on the e-bike. He's like, yeah, man, just anything you're doing, somebody out there will want to see it. Just put it on, see what happens. And it's like, that's good. That's a good point, Mr. Hicks. That's a good point. And that's what I'm doing. And it's like, why can't they do that? That's all you know how to do, is just be a little jerk, be a nuisance, and then hide behind your 9-foot bodyguard. Well, sorry, Jack Doherty, you can't hide behind anything now. You know? And he even did. He tried getting fresh with those cops. And it's like, I feel for his bodyguard, that big, huge black dude he's got. Even that guy was like trying to like tell the cops what's up. And it's like, they knew they were going to have to move, but they were just trying to get every last second of it in there for clout, for coverage and content. And like the cop came up and approached Jack Doherty, and the bodyguard like tried to get in his face, kind of like, oh, you can't do that. And that cop's like, do something, you know? What are you going to do? There's like 30 cops there. And they're in Miami, you know? The city cops don't F around, dude. They'll just drop you right there. So yeah, dude, it's like, I don't know what these guys are smoking, acting like this. But it's like, and then have a pocket full of drugs to boot? Smooth. Like, if you're going to go out, you know, just a word to the wise, if you're going to go out and cause public nuisance where there's a high likelihood that you're going to get attacked by somebody or have a police interaction, you probably shouldn't have a bunch of amphetamines in your pocket. Just saying. Even if they're yours. Even if they're yours. Cops going to go, why do you walk around with all these amphetamines for? Oh, I just like, you know, no, sorry. So it's like... another, you know, and then these people go out and vote. Holy smokes. We're screwed. We're all screwed. I'm gonna make him a little more devious looking. Anyway, yeah. So that's one good thing about the world, I guess, is people like Jack Doherty and Johnny Salami and freaking Vitali are getting their comeuppance. And that's okay. That's okay, because they kind of need it. It's just crazy that it's got to get to that point, you know? It's got to get to the point of someone getting shot. And then the other crappy thing is that the people that end up punching these guys out or whatever, you know, then they gotta, their life is messed up, because now, you know, they gotta go to jail or, you know? Ugh. Fuck, man. Unbelievable. If my kid ever became one of them nuisance streamers, I would disown him. I don't care how much money he had. I'd be like, nope. Well, maybe I wouldn't disown him. But I would be like, bro, this is ridiculous, you know? Yep. Sitting in jail, and yeah. Next time you're bored, go look up jail in the Philippines. Go look it up. You'll be amazed what you see. There was a show back in the day when, before the internet was even close to what it is today, there was a show called Locked Up Abroad. And it was about ding-dongs. You know, not all of them were bad people, but they all broke the law in the form usually of... in the form of usually being a drug mule. So these people, usually white, Western women, usually a lot of times, most of the time, but men too, would be recruited by, you know, drug agent, you know, like a cartel or some kind of underworld thing would recruit them and, you know, run these drugs for me and I'll give you 10 grand, you know? And it's like, oh shit, when you're that young and stupid, you don't think about it, because usually they were young and stupid or old and desperate, one or the other. That's the one thing I noticed. They're either young and dumb, can't happen to me, right? Or old and desperate. So, that being said, they would get busted. Not always, you know, right off the rip, right? But a lot of times, sometimes right off the rip, but most times than not, it was, you would hear the story of, oh yeah, you know, I went to, you know, X country and, you know, was approached by this hot chick, and we went back to, you know, the hotel and got busy, and then she introduced me to her cousin, and he was in the thing, and then he's like, hey, you should do this, and, you want to stay down here and keep poking my cousin, don't you? Well, I mean, I got this way you can do that. You could just be, you know, run this stuff for me. And this was back in the day, usually. Like, you could never, I don't think you could pull any of this stuff off anymore. You know, this is back usually in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, where there were creative ways and more privacy and rights to travel. So these people would do this stuff, and, you know, like I said, eventually they would get caught. And, yeah, then they'd go to jail. And, you know, some of these countries don't play around. Some of these Southeast Asian countries, if you get busted running drugs, some of them, it's a death penalty. They just did that, I believe, not too long ago. There was these, like, 5 or 6 Australians who went over to, I want to say, like, Thailand or something. Maybe the Philippines. One or the other. But, you know, they went over there and got a bunch of hash, and were trying to bring it back and got busted, right? So they got busted, and it was the death penalty, firing squad, and they did shoot them all. I think, I might be mistaken, I think maybe a couple of them might have not got executed, might have gotten like a stay as, you know, life in prison in freaking Cambodia or something. So, yeah, man. I don't know what to tell you. Think of the consequences. When I was in North Dakota, I had a young buddy that was getting into some nefarious stuff, and I said, man, better watch that shit. You know, you get busted and this and that. Well, it hasn't happened yet, and that was his philosophy. That was his, well, it hasn't happened yet. Oh, well, I guess it just won't happen? Is that what we're saying here? And it's like, that's some of those horrible, and don't get me wrong, everybody, I was no angel. I'm not a saint. I was, you know, I've been through a lot, and I've done a lot of stupid shit, and, you know, nothing bad, but, you know, but I've made stupid choices, and I've paid prices for those choices. But, I hate to say it like this, I've learned a lot of mistakes in my life off of my friends' misery. You know, I'd see the stupid stuff my friends were doing, and I'd learn by that. I had one kind of well-off friend from a well-off family, and he messed up all the time, but he always had somebody to call from jail, and I never did. So I didn't mess around. And it was that simple. Nothing too crazy. Give me 1 second, peeps. Get a drink of something. It's light, it's hot. So we got our little sun here and our little Pac-Man people coming out of a dimensional portal, and we got a beautiful galactic background nebula type thing going on. And we're just kind of working on it. But like I said, coloring book, got to make it busy. It's got to be busy. So, my neighbor's probably next door, because I live in like a townhouse, you know? And there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 townhouses, kind of staggered like this, but they're connected. And I'm on this very last one, which is nice, because I have windows on all sides, except for this wall. My neighbor's probably over there like, who the hell is he talking to? He knows I'm alone, you know? Okay, what should we draw? What should we draw? We should make a little planet in the background. I'm going to use my little trusty doodad. No, trusty doodad. We'll go with that size planet. No, let's do some. We'll go with this size planet. Planet. And then I'll go around it freehand and get that kind of not perfect look to it that is desired. And then the moon is about 238,000 miles away. So we'll go with like that guy right there. Yep. Booyah. Moon, Earth. Yeah, you know, the sad part about that whole thing with like the Jack Dohertys and all those kind of people is that nothing's probably going to happen. That's probably the thing that pisses me off the most. Is that nothing will probably happen to these people. They'll probably get some kind of fine and a slap on the wrist and a take it easy. You know it. Same with that list that they just came out with on the government, you know. All those guys are crooked, so nothing's going to happen. Anyway. That Jack Doherty guy, you know, he'll get away with it. The only reason Salami and Vitali got nailed is because they did it in another country, ding-dongs. If they would have done that in America or Europe, I mean, they have, and nothing really happened. I think Vitaly went to jail once for like assaulting some chick when she was jogging, and it's like, okay, well, that's gonna, he didn't really get in that much trouble though, and yeah. So it's like I can't really see anything happening to these people because they got the money. They got the money and nobody's dead. That's the big thing. Nobody's dead, and they have the money to get out of it, so they will. I will bet my favorite Star Trek comic book to anybody who wants to take up the bet. And yeah, you let me know. And if he doesn't get in trouble, I'll send you that. Or if he does get in trouble, I'll send you that comic book in the mail. But yeah, the only reason Salami and what's his face got popped is because they did it in freaking the Philippines and stuff. That's the only reason. So we're gonna go over this. I know I just made a perfect circle with that little doodad, but I wasn't looking for a perfect circle. I wanted just a kind of shooting off point. So I'm noticing this paper bleeds different. It bleeds out, this kind of paper. So I probably won't be using this pad too much longer. Not like I'll get rid of it. I'm just saying it's hard to get good edges when it's bleeding like that. But yeah, that's the one thing. They won't get in trouble. None of them ever do. None of these people get in trouble in America. I remember that one time Snoop Dogg, I got nothing against him, but, he's rich. He's been rich for longer than he wasn't rich. He got busted at, like, an airport with, like, a freaking pound of weed in a place where weed wasn't cool. And nothing happened. I think he got a fine, a couple grand. It's like, really? Other actors have been caught with, guns in their bags. Like, oh, I didn't know that was there. Like, oh, I know, you're a famous actor, so I believe you. Or like Alec Baldwin, shoots that lady. Yes, it was on set. Yes, it was a set F-up. But it's like, I don't know, people. Even when Martha Stewart got busted, she got busted and did a little time in Camp Cupcake and came out and wrote a book. And that's what they all do. They all write a book afterwards. My Time Inside, Martha Stewart. And it's like, what did she even get busted for? It was like pretty much like insider trading. Like, that's